Hello friends, today I'll be making a video on Colreg Part B Section 2 and the last rule number 18. I will also share a few tricks to memorize this particular rule. So let's get started. Rule number 18 starts with except where rule number 9, 10 and 13 otherwise require. So as you know, rule number 9 is narrow channel, number 10 is TSS and 13 is overtaking situation. And often there are doubts in the minds of the candidate whether this particular rule applies in a narrow channel or a traffic separation scheme or during an overtaking situation. So, just to refresh your memory, I'll just show you where there may be a difference in opinion between rule number 9 and 18. So, as you can see, rule number 9, part B and C says that a vessel less than 20 meters in length and sailing vessel and vessel which is fishing, they shall not impede. And I will just stop here to make a point that it's impede, which basically means, as per rule number 8F, that try to give a clear passage, but if you're not able to give, then it's okay, the other vessel will manage. Whereas in rule number 18, it clearly says that a power driven vessel shall keep out of the way of a vessel not under command, a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver, a vessel engaged in fishing, and a sailing vessel. So, first of all, in TSS, narrow channel, a vessel engaged in fishing and sailing vessel would try not to impede the passage of a power driven vessel. However, if a power driven vessel finds these vessels impeding its passage, then it shall keep out of the way of these vessels. Thus, there is no doubt about it that a power driven vessel is required to keep out of the way of these special four categories of vessel, which are NUC, ram, fishing, and sailing. And before I move further, I just want you to know a trick. Trick to remember that rule number 18 equals responsibility, because at the age of 18, a person is given the right to be a responsible citizen to vote. So, thus, you can easily remember rule number 18 means responsibility between the vessels. Next thing you need to remember is there are 6 points to it. And as per the new rules in India, at the age of 6 itself, a kid is sent to school directly to class first. So at 18, you can see yourself looking back and remembering that you have spent around 12 years educating yourself in school. And this is finally where you are. So 6 and 18, you may remember this number. Then we start with the combination. We have already finished part A, which says that power driven vessel shall keep out of the way of four categories of vessel. And from this point onwards, it's actually very straightforward. Let's get further. And in the part B, it is informed that the fourth category of vessel, which was there in part A, the sailing vessel, it shall keep out of the way of a vessel not under command, a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver, and a vessel engaged in fishing. Part C follows the same sequence. It says a vessel engaged in fishing when underway shall, so far as possible, keep out of the way of vessel not under command and a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver. So far there was a clear instruction for power driven vessel and sailing vessel that they shall keep out of the way of. However, for fishing vessel, they have written so far as possible keep out of the way of. So still for fishing vessel, there is a gray area. Then comes point D, and now the rule changes a bit. It's talking about the responsibility of other vessels towards a power driven vessel which is constrained by her draft. And the rule D says any vessel other than vessel not under command or a vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel constrained by draft, exhibiting the signal in rule number 28. For obvious reasons, a vessel which is not under command and the vessel which is restricted in her ability to maneuver is not required to take any action because they cannot. However, for other vessels, it has been told that you avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel constrained by her draft, which basically means if you are a vessel constrained by draft, don't expect that everyone will keep out of your way. They will try not to impede your passage. And because the word impede has been used here, there is a part 2 added to it, saying that a vessel constrained by her draft shall navigate with particular caution, having full regards to her special condition. So it's quite clear that a vessel which is constrained by her draft shall not expect other vessels to keep out of her way. The other vessels may try not to impede the passage, but if they do not do so, it shall have a backup plan. And just to refresh your memory on rule number 28, it requires by day a power driven vessel shall exhibit a cylinder where it can be best seen, and at night it shall exhibit 3 red lights in a straight line, in addition to the other lights which are required by the vessel of her size. And then finally, the last 2 points, part E and F, are for seaplane and wig craft. And for the seaplane, it says that in general, keep well clear of all vessels and avoid impeding their navigation. In circumstances, however, where there is a risk of collision, she shall comply with the rules of this part. And almost the same for the wig craft, that when taking off, landing, and in flight near the surface, keep well clear of all other vessels and avoid impeding their navigation. In addition to this, for wig craft, it says that a wig craft operating on the water surface shall comply with the rules of this part as a power driven vessel. Finally, I summarize. At 18, you become responsible. So, Rule 18 is responsibility between vessels. It has 6 points. At the age of 6, a student goes to school in class first. Thus, this information is important to remember that there are 6 points in this. The first 3 points are sequential responsibility between power driven vessel and 4 special different categories of vessel, and with the same priority for the next 2 vessels, sailing vessel and fishing vessel. Point D talks about the responsibility of a vessel constrained by draft and the responsibility towards a vessel constrained by draft. Then last 2 points, E and F, are basically responsibility of wig craft and seaplane, which is to keep well clear of all vessels, and if there is a risk of collision, they shall comply with the rules of this part. I hope it was a useful video for you. If you have any suggestion, feedback, or comment, then please write below. I thank you for watching. All the best.